with Carly Beth?
Good. Whether or not it gets approved.
I'm not sure where you put the prisoner in.
All set? Thank you. Could rise for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We could remain standing and remember our men and women in the armed forces, those that are here and abroad. They continue to see action, and I also would like us to remember a couple of residents who passed away since our last meeting. That Wesley Fall, his wife Mary used to work downstairs, and Tony Galoo. Thank you. Public comment on agenda items? Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, not on the agenda.
Or anything, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay, I was going by what you said.
You can go anyway.
Oh, thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome.
Martha Allward, Highland Falls. Two things. I have friends who just moved to the village, no cell phone service. They roam around their house looking for service. And those of us who have lived here, hey, it's 2020. How about some service? We're paying bills, we got no service. It's a problem when there's an accident in certain areas around here. Enough talk.
So,
You know, put it up on this roof, put it someplace, but get something in here. And number two, consolidation. Nobody talks about it anymore, nobody says anything. We're 6,000 people, town and village, we don't need two forms of government. Thank you.
well, let me answer those too, okay? So the reorganization, as you, I think, would know, we had a grant. A lot of it was spent before I came back. That work that amount of work that was done from the grant is not valid any longer. Wrong information was given. And when I say grant, I also should also say the amount of grant money that's spent has to be matched by village taxpayers' money. And so there's around $30,000 left. 15 is from the grant and 15 is matching from us. And that will not do a full report. To do a full report would take $45,000 to $50,000. We went out with RFPs to companies that do these types of reports, and we received a lot of inquiries, but only 2 responses for the full report. One was for $45,000, one was for $50,000. I recently, with the blessing from the board, interviewed one, and I told him of our situation with the money and that we wouldn't be able to do a full report at this point. And would they still be willing to give us something as far as maybe the police department or maybe the highway department. And so they're still interested. They didn't back out. And so at the same time, I've asked the state for another, and it is another extension. And I'm actually waiting on that. Am I right? March? In March next month, the grant that we do have now with 15 left, as I keep referring to, is up. So I've asked for an extension of that to take us from March of next month for another few months, I'm hoping. The most I could ever get or hope for would be a year. We've done this a few times, you know, you keep going back and they start to look at you. But anyway, that's where that's at. It's not forgotten. It's not, I can't even say it's on the back burner, believe me. As far as the cell tower, you're absolutely right. Roaming the house, I have to do it. Of course, I can't say I roam the house, I know where it works and where it doesn't. And I know it doesn't work on the couch that I sit on all the time. So I have to get up. My poor wife has to go out on the porch with her phone. Not right. You're right, it's 2020. And so, you know, you're on the committee, you know that we had some meetings, you know that areas were of location of a tower were suggested. One was down on Havens Road behind the old Grand Union. Folks that live off to the side there didn't like that. You know, no one wants it in their backyard. And I have to respect that and understand it. So I called Homeland Towers, who's spearheading with Verizon, etc. A couple of meetings we've had downstairs. Brian, were you at any of those? Yeah, I think. And they're redoing their analysis in that they're thinking one large tower in an area that they didn't think would work, but if they put this tower there, I don't want to say where exactly yet, but if they put it there, there's no homes, although it won't cover the whole village, but then they're talking about putting micro antennas up, just throwing out maybe one here on our building, maybe one on top of the senior citizen building, and we're talking not the full-fledged towers, we're talking like this. And so they can bounce off one another and the whole village be fed. So, and now also, just recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, Sprint reached out to me, and I've been communicating with them. They actually came here twice and were up on the roof here, this building, took pictures, etc., and they're interested. And so a meeting as we sit here tonight is actually being figured out, a meeting for Sprint to come and talk about what they want to do on the roof. And then, you know, there's a lot to it. Then I'm going to have to sit with Homeland Towers, because do these antennas interfere with their antennas? Do I need both? Can I have Sprint on theirs? You know, there's a whole thing. But not, I'm not making that a problem, because it's not. I like this kind of stuff. So I'm just telling you, and Brian, I refer to Brian because a lot of times he comes in and there's a meeting going on and he sits down, which I'm glad. But there's many reasons over and above us, we're first, that we need cell towers. Businesses can't do business on Main Street. Cadets can't call the American Burrito. That's a fact. On and on and on and on. So, and people don't want to move here without a cell tower communications. There's a lot of residual off to the side of these things. And I can only say to you, Martha, it is very, very important, and it's on top. And I tell you that, it's on top. And I saw this young lady, you're shaking your head yes, and you're not even from here, and you know.
I grew up in New Windsor. I have familiarity with the area.
Okay, so you know what we're talking about. So those two issues, that's the update. And they're not just words. If you came downstairs, they're right on top. Thank you. Okay, Megan, I'd like to introduce you. We spoke the other day. I called you on, the village clerk and I called you on a letter that we had received about some money that the county is or going to receive for a census. And as I told this young lady, the census is important to all communities, but I just want to talk about here, it's so important to us. It has to be as right as we can make it, because it pertains to the urgency for me to get it right. It pertains to grants and what is allowed to come here and what isn't allowed to come here. It could be because of your makeup. It could be because of your the degree of education of your population. There's so much that goes into the census that can only be done by folks answering the door. And that doesn't always happen. But you're here to tell us what the county, the more we talked, I said, you have to, if you can, come to one of my meetings, and here you are. So tell us what you have to offer, okay? Yes, so give us your name for the records and, that's good.
Good evening. My name is Megan Tennerman. I am the Orange County, I'm here representing Orange County Planning. I am the county demographer, demographic and census data analyst. I am here to talk about the census and what we, and as the mayor said, it is incredibly important for everyone to fill out your census form. You'll be getting a postcard sometime between the week of March 12th and the week of April 1st. Please don't throw it away. Please take it. Please enter the code online and fill out your census form. I'm begging here. What we have here,
We have to beg, and it's okay.
So what we are doing is we are looking for a complete count of Orange County because it is absolutely vital in that we require this 100% count of every county in New York State will keep us from losing a second seat in the House of Representatives. We are going to lose one seat this go around when redistricting occurs next year. 65,000 people stand between us only losing one seat and us losing 2 seats. 65,000 people is approximately the population of the city of Newburgh and the town of Newburgh. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things. And so what we're hoping is that Orange County will be 100% counted because it is also vital to have accurate population statistics for grants, for other sources of federal funding, highway funding, and school lunch programs, and HEAP. 131 programs on the federal level are determined by population. 131, and those programs distribute $681 billion annually based on census population. Only decennial census population, that's it. Sole determining factor. So if we do not have an accurate population, we lose money to the tune of $2,500 per person not counted per year for the 10 years of the census. That's verifiable. That's mostly Medicaid and highway spending, but it's verifiable, $2,500 per person per year for 10 years. So, now that I've scared you all, what can we do about this? We are looking to reach as many people, and your TV program will help with that. Hi, thank you. And we are hoping to get everyone to just fill out their census forms, because if you do that, then you don't have to answer the door. If you fill out the form on the first go-round once you get it, or you request a paper form, or you request to do the census online, which is also fine, those are valid ways, and you'll get instructions in your first mailing on how to do either of those things if you don't want to put your information on the internet. Fine. If you fill out your form, no one will come to your door. You will not get a visit from a census enumerator. You don't have to answer any questions from anyone else. You don't have to check ID badges. You don't have to worry that someone is trying to scam you. If you just answer your form right away. If you do not answer your form right away, someone is going to come to your door. You are going to get up to 4 mailings between March 12th and April 15th. And that will include, I actually did not check whether the Village of Highland Falls is an internet first or an internet priority. We are asking people, the Census Bureau, is asking people to fill out the form online. It just saves paper and a little bit of time. But again, the paper form is available, and you can fill out the census over the phone. That is particularly an option if English is not your first language. So if you are an English language learner, or you are not comfortable answering questions in English, you have your choice of 13 other languages in which you can answer the questions on your paper form or over the phone. And translators will be available for other languages if those 13 do not meet your needs. And those 13 include Spanish and French and Mandarin Chinese, Japanese, I think Vietnamese. Generally, your mix of the 13 most spoken languages in the United States. So, if you do not fill out any of the forms on the 4 mailings that you get, then you are going to get a visit. Actually, you're going to get up to 6 visits from, pardon me, cold and flu season, gotta love it. So you're going to get up to 6 visits from census enumerators. They are bright, friendly young people with badges. You should check the badge and make sure that they are actually from the Census Bureau. And they will fill out the form for you on their device right away. But in that case, you do have to answer the door. So, where other forms of information come in handy, the census is only going to ask you how many people live in your house, what their relationship is to each other, their names, ages, race and gender, and ethnicity. Where things like income and household size and other, well, household size is determined by the decennial census, but things like how many cars you have, or how many rooms there are in your house, or other things like that that go into grant applications, that is all determined by the American Community Survey, which is also a program of the Census Bureau. That gathers all of the information on what used to be the long form, if any of you remember taking the 2000 census. And some of you might have gotten a form that was 4 pages long and asked a lot of questions about what time you left for work. That has now been done away with. The 2000 census was the last census where we collected that information on the long form, and it's been replaced by what we call the American Community Survey, which collects information from a sample of households like the long form did, but it collects it every year instead of every 10 years. The data is a little bit better. So that information is where we get household income and things like that that you rely on for grants. And we hope that whenever someone gets a mailing from the Census Bureau, that they will answer all of the questions fully and carefully and honestly. So the county has received, will receive, we've received confirmation that we are going to receive money. And that will be coming from the state for purposes of ensuring that we do have a complete and accurate census. That money is primarily going to be distributed by the county to nonprofits in our area. And those nonprofits are ones that work with what we call our hard-to-count populations, or in our hard-to-count areas. The village of Highland Falls is a hard-to-count area, at least partly because of its geographic isolation. And obviously there's nothing you can do about that. What we are hoping to do, again, is to encourage everyone to fill out the form, because the more forms get filled out, the better your response rate is, and the fewer enumerators have to come in and fill in the rest of the information. But that's always the first line of defense. The second line is we would have people come into the village who are working with our hard-to-count populations. Now, in Orange County, the hard-to-count populations are typically children under the age of 5. And that goes back to the paper forms, which only had 10 slots. If you've got a multi-generational household, who gets left off? Usually the youngest. So, children under the age of 5, and we're working with the Child Care Council and daycares around to make sure that parents remember that they have babies and list them on the forms. English language learners, again, people who don't speak English as their first language sometimes have a problem with government forms that are just asking for their names. They don't realize, because everything is in English, that they can ask for forms in their native language. It happens. Beg your pardon. Another population would be more transient workers, people that work non-traditional schedules, third shift workers, people that generally aren't going to be home when you, oh, thank you. I very much appreciate this. People that aren't going to be home or aren't going to be awake when you knock on their door. Again, the people who are homebound, elderly or disabled, or just confined to their homes generally, are also going to have an issue with the census, particularly if you're having problems with your Wi-Fi. If you are having issues with cell phone reception, that might be something that you want to get straightened out as soon as you can. But also, one thing that would be helpful would be if you can get people in who are,
You're okay.
who have more of a group response. So if you have like Census Day at Village Hall, you could have an enumerator come here and people could just come and bring their forms or bring whatever they need, and the enumerator could help them fill out the form. Because as enthusiastic as I am about the census at all times, I can't help someone fill out the form because I'm not a Census Bureau employee. I can tell them all about how to fill out the form, I can tell them how to get to the website, but I can't help them fill in the information. Technically, it's.
We'll get you a bottle of water.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
So if that would be something that you wanted to look into, we would absolutely be happy to facilitate that as well. And if you have, I'm sorry, if you have nonprofits in the area that work with hard to count populations, if you have a nonprofit that is devoted to, say, childcare, or maybe farm workers or something in the area, please have them contact my office and we can get them set up with the application, and we can get that in process, and they can get a piece of B-State money, potentially. But have them do that very quickly because the deadline was actually yesterday, and I hope we've gotten some, we hope we've gotten enough applications in, but it's entirely possible that we didn't because they also have to be pre-qualified through the state. I can be reached at mtennerman, mtennermann, at orangecounty.gov.com. Or my phone at 845.
You go.
Oh, thank you very much. 845-615-3855 is my direct phone number. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
We went to a meeting a few years ago, Charlie Murphy and myself. There was a mix-up with West Point and the village and town, and our income went way up, which wasn't really our income. And I asked when they could change that so we could get some grants, and they said we had to wait until now.
I did speak to Megan about that on the phone,
Okay.
and we're concerned, as Trustee Howard said, we're concerned that our numbers, income numbers from West Point are affect ours, and it shouldn't be. That's not the village. The village stops just up the road. We talked about this. And so some good news is that in talking with Megan last week, there is a liaison from the Census Bureau that they work with. And I'm going to be calling you to set up a meeting, possibly with this person, so that we can go over our boundaries and just to make sure that it's accurate. You know, just to make sure that it's accurate.
That is absolutely fine. Another program that I take care of for the Census Bureau is called the Boundary and Annexation Survey. I do this every year. I review boundaries within Orange County and Orange County's boundaries to ensure that everyone's boundaries are accurate. The problem with with West Point's income being attributed to the village is almost certainly a data attribution problem because your boundaries are fine.
Yeah, we answered, we studied the boundaries, my clerk and the engineer, and we sent back that what you gave us on paper is correct,
Great,
is
Good.
correct.
so that's just a.
But that's on paper.
No, that's, the data must just have gotten misattributed,
Yeah.
which is a
We're
problem.
not sure, we just want to make sure.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
And we can meet with Mario.
Yeah.
The partnership specialist for the Lower Hudson Valley is named Mario Garcia, and he can be reached at mario.d.garcia@2020census.gov.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go through you,
That's fine.
because I would maybe, if it's possible for you to be there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm happy to be there and I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to set things up, but, you know,
Thank you.
if you want to have the
No,
information
thank
yourself.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Anyone?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks for coming down.
Now, get on the road, because it's dark. It's dark for this night, but it's rainy night, so it's extra dark. Be
It
careful, okay?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Please.
I'll be fine.
That's
I
what your
grew up
father would
driving
say,
these
to you, be
roads.
careful. Okay. Gina, you have anything for Shelley? No?
No.
Megan, we'll be talking.
Great,
You presented, you did a nice presentation, thank you.
thank you. And thanks for the water and the cough
No
drop, I do
problem.
apologize.
Rick, I thought you would get up with that.
I was about to. I just wanted to know where it was coming from.
Sorry. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So the census is important, like we said, we know that, for many reasons. Okay, new business, if we could have the minutes that were typed up for at our last meeting on the 3rd of February 2020.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Howard, is there a second? Trustee Livesey, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have a resolution. It's a request. I'm sorry, I'll take back the resolution. I have a request here from the chairman of the Consolidated ZBA, Jack Janarone, that we approve Elise Trahoon, happens to be the village attorney, Esquire, as the village attorney for the Consolidated Zoning Board of Appeals.
Motion.
Motion, trustee Livesey, is there a second?
Second.
Second, trustee Ramus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now I have a resolution, whereas $50,000 has been received by the Orange County Community Development to close out Community Development Block Grant 2015, and whereas this revenue has been designated to offset the cost of installing the handicap restrooms at the Senior Citizen Center. Now therefore be it resolved that due to unanticipated revenue from the Community Development, the Board of Trustees approved an amendment to increase the revenue code A-4960 federal aid for $50,000 and increase the expense code A7989.0400 senior citizen center contractual for $50,000 for fiscal year 2019-2020. Before I ask for a motion, again, this was a grant that the village went after and received from the county. And these community development block grants, many times, are dependent on what you're asking for and the income of that particular section of the community. I relate this back to the census, that's why it's important. So if I could have a motion to for this, I'll take it now.
So moved.
Motion by trustee DeSalvo, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Howard, may I have a roll call?
Trustee Howard,
Aye.
trustee Livesey,
Aye.
trustee Ramus,
Aye.
trustee DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio.
Aye, motion carries, thank you so much. We have on the agenda the fire department request to approve a new member, Aaron Agarwal, pending results of his physical. I just want to point out that this young man doesn't live far from here, and voted in by the membership village resident, extensive experience as a firefighter in the Marine Corps, numerous national certifications, and we expect him to be an asset to the department. So he comes highly recommended, and it's, I'm so happy that he's applied to be a member.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Livesey. Is there-
Second.
Second by trustee Ramus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Pending physical, correct?
Pending physical, that the motion should read. Next, I would like the board to approve a quote from Liscombe, McCormick, and Van Uses LLP for $9,400 to prepare specs for improvement to the ceiling, drop ceiling, LED lighting in the Senior Citizen Center. Again, this is, additional work in the Senior Citizen Center comes from additional grant money.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Howard, is there a second?
Also to have you sign it, approve that amount and have you sign it.
Second by trustee Livesey, a motion to spend $9,400 and the mayor is authorized to sign the document. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You have the village application for the art walk. I'm glad it's coming back this year. We skipped a year, which is fine. It's back now. The opening date for the art walk is May 2 at 2 p.m. Little ceremonial day at the park. All the paperwork is here, insurance is here, we could approve.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Ramus and seconded by trustee DeSalvo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I have bills and claims for fiscal year 2020 of $153,709.27.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Howard, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee DeSalvo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, some brief updates. Went to the senior citizen meeting today, nicely attended. I was happy to see that amount of folks there. They're going to have what they're calling a repair cafe on Saturday morning, April the 25th, from 9 to 11. If you have a small appliance that's not working, you have a laptop or a cell phone that maybe you have questions on how to do, how to work it, how to pull up pictures, someone will be there to help you. You want to restore picture frames, repair picture frames, just a host of, if you have something small at home that's in disrepair or broke, you come down to the Senior Citizen Center, which is the old KSC Hall, on April the 25th from 9 to 11. And there'll be folks there to help do the repair. And after that is over with, at noon, at the same place, the Senior Citizen Center, is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there'll be some discussions on Earth Day and recycling and all of that, which should be interesting for a couple hours from noon to 2 o'clock. Of course, there'll be refreshments, and I think they're going to have a bake sale, so that's always good. Okay, something I learned at the center, the senior meeting today, and I checked it out. I went and I called. This is great for senior citizens. If you want to have AARP do your income taxes, they do it for free. Free. If you're a senior citizen, it'll be for free. What you need to do is to call, and I'm going to give the number out, but the number will also be downstairs. The ladies downstairs will have it, so if you're not writing it down now, if you're home and you're not writing it down, fine. Call the Village Hall tomorrow or the next day, and they'll give you this 800 number. So it's 800-899-1479.
Were there income?
No, no income, I asked. I went through the whole thing. But you have to call this number, and there's some paperwork they're gonna want you to bring, and they'll give you a list of what you need to bring. And they're open 7 days a week, 9 in the morning to 7 at night. 1-800-899-1479. There's some advantages, right, Brian?
I'll own a couple more years.
I would like permission from the board to I'm going to skip that one, I'm sorry. Had a meeting with the LA Group, which is our planners for the DRI grant. The DRI grant is the $10 million grant. This will be the, we've put in it for 4 years in a row. It's 4 years old, we put in each year. Again, on year 3, we were one of the finalists. And so we had a meeting last week and went over our application with the state, which proved to be very helpful. And they gave us 3 areas to look at and to beef up our application, for which we will do. So that was a very, very good meeting. March the 6th, which is coming, we're going to open up the bids for Roe Park, the playground, the rubber surface, the basketball court, new blacktop, and reline the pool. You're going to do that?
Yeah.
I don't have much more, just bear with me. Yeah, we should. We should. We're moving forward with Restore New York with the 4 Mountain Avenue, the large pink brick building. That'll be done this year. Specs are done now for that. We're waiting on the state to approve a letter. We requested that the Village Hall be approved and take the paint off of this building and have brick. West Point Highway sidewalks, survey is done. There'll be a March bid for that. We need to have it completed by June 30th of this year. The replacement of the RBCs, there's 4 RBCs that need to be replaced at the wastewater treatment plant from the fire damage. The bid will be out in April. The sewer line at the water plant has been completed. We talked about the senior citizen building. There's a meeting coming up about the power lines with Orange and Rockland. I'll keep the public abreast of that. The belt press for the wastewater treatment plant has been awarded, and it should be here in February this month, maybe next week. There's a grant that we have in place for that for $447,563, I'm happy to report. Cell tower I gave a little while ago. The punch list for sidewalks at the north end and for paving on several streets has been done and given to the contractors, and they're going to remedy the punch list. The Old Guard Hotel drainage problem, not problem, but upgrade to the drainage on Mearns Avenue down Berry Hill across Fickenfield to the brook has been completed. The application through Greenway for $10,000, which is also again a matching grant to upgrade our 2009 comprehensive plan, has been submitted.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah?
so they finished burial.
Yes.
Have they indicated when they're going to start the next phase of the contract? That's you?
No.
Okay.
No. This communications we've had with the village attorney about 479 Main Street in relationship, my comments are only to the relationship to the wall, is not in the village board's, doesn't have to be the process through the village board, that'll be planning. That's census. This is the DRI grant. Reorg we talked about. Dog fines, I'm going to give you a report where we are, if you want to raise them or not. I don't have it tonight. I would like all four of you to get your newsletter articles into me by the end of this month. Met with Central Hudson, and we went over the repairs. You know, they are very good at digging up and replacing an old pipe with a new pipe and putting gravel back, but they're a little long in coming back to finish the job, be it concrete or blacktop. So we went over that list. There was a half a dozen areas in the village. I know Center Street has one, Cooks Lane has one. There are about 6 different ones. We talked about the new gas line coming down Main Street from Cousins Avenue. Cousins Avenue North, you know they did last year. Now they're going to put a new main in from Cousins Avenue down Main Street to Mountain Avenue. It's under the sidewalk right now. They're going to move the gas line in front of the churches into the road. Of course, they'll have to repair the road. When it gets down here, there's actually 2 gas lines, one on each side. They're going to put one down the middle of Main, somewhere on the street, and disconnect the ones going under the sidewalk. So there'll be one main going down, but then therefore everyone's going to have to be rehooked with laterals. This will be part of our sidewalk replacement at this end of town, along with paving like we did at the north end from where we left off just up the street here down to Mountain Avenue. The projected start time, Central Hudson has to go first, just like at the north end. The projected time for Central Hudson to start will be late April. These gas lines in different areas of the village date back to 1925. So obviously they have to be replaced. Brian?
Yeah, I got a call from Lloyd Hotel's office that the village will be getting an additional $16,420.23 more in sales tax.
Great.
Chief Nick, Pastor Agnes was down at the center, and there were a couple of elderly people there. And 2 of them asked me to ask you about a blotter like Cornwall, but they want names in it. And I said, I don't know if you can put names in it, I'm not sure. Can you help me out with that? They wanted to know why we don't have a blotter just for Highland Falls versus Cornwall.
Who's this, Brian? Who wants that?
2 senior citizens, they come to Reverend Agnes, they do some stuff with all the senior citizens. They wanted to know,
Our police blotter?
yeah, in the paper,
Like they do in Cornwall.
yeah.
Oh, you want it in the paper?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and,
Mary Jane.
yeah, and can you put people's names in it?
Well, how they do their blotter,
We've come to a mutual agreement that doesn't best necessarily serve the community.
Okay.
so the way they do their blotters, they're not very active, so they'll put anything like a cat in a tree call. And I don't know if we want to be putting people's names that called in that
I'm
complaint
not
or
really
whatever.
comfortable with the way they
The
do
way we were doing it, our police blotter was more used as for arrests that we made. And we were able to share the names of the people we arrested, unless they were a juvenile.
Conference, and people came early, and they were talking about crime. They want to know why, if we have crime here, can you put people's names?
Well, when they do make arrests and have crimes, that's when Ken does a press release and gives it to me.
Okay,
And I handle it that way.
fine. I told them I would ask the question.
Thank you. It was for him, but thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, listen, I want to say that again though, because I know it to be, because I get a copy of every press release from the police department, from the chief, drug bust. You know, I don't want to say anything that happens, like the cat in the tree.
It's usually gonna be.
But we're talking about a crime.
Violation of the law.
We don't,
Okay.
They just want people's names, and said, I don't think you can just put anybody's name in for a crime.
maybe Agnes wants to pray for them.
No, it's not Agnes.
Oh.
Agnes was doing a lesson for them. I got there early to open it up, and the conversation started about crime and stuff. And they asked, can you put people's names in the paper? I said, I don't think you can just put someone's name.
What was the reason, just for their general knowledge, or they didn't elaborate on that, or?
Because they wanted to know what crime was happening.
Tell them to see now, I'm glad to share what we're doing.
Okay. No, it had nothing to do with Agnes and praying.
I didn't think so.
You have more than?
That's it.
Just a couple things I want to, one thing, Mayor Joe, you was just talking about Central Hudson. One thing I want to bring up about Central Hudson is, I've also spoke with them, and I know April is when they're apparently going to be coming into the village and starting their work, and there's a lot of work to be done. But one thing that I've noticed with Central Hudson and a few of the other companies that come in is, of course, I'm going to say the spray paint on the roads. It's becoming to the point where it's starting to look like graffiti out there. If you go to some of these areas, it's bad. It's all over the place. It's fluorescent colors. It just does not look presentable. And if there's any way, and I'll be speaking to Central Hudson, I understand why they're doing it, because they have to get the permits in and they have to mark them out and all of that. But I think it's just becoming a little extreme now. And that's going to bring me into my next part of my conversation is, as we're approaching now going into March, and for us being this is a workshop, I think our board should start looking into, when we start talking about the property maintenance. And I think we should get a good grab on it this year, in the beginning of the year, exactly how we're going to set this and how we're going to move forward. Because as I look around and there's a lot of good going on in the village, there's a lot of houses being worked on, which is great, but there's also a handful of houses that are still sitting there. And I think it would be pretty good for us to get together and take a good look at these homes that are just sitting there right now, and maybe to send them a letter of what the actions will be taken when we come into the spring, as maybe a pretty good heads up on the property that they have.
Well, to answer that, my suggestion, just throwing it out there now, so I had
Yeah.
2 seconds,
Yep.
is that if any of us know of any homes, the home itself or the yard itself,
Right.
that obviously looks like it would be code violations,
Right.
we should tell the building department.
Okay. Yep.
If we don't get a chance to go down there, we leave it in Brian's box, because he's the liaison. He'll go down there and see Bruce and say, hey, this house on Fort Putnam
Because-
Street, this is the number,
That's
you
exactly
should
right.
go by and look at it.
Yeah, because even though it's
If you see it, he'll see it.
even though it's February,
No,
it still doesn't make an excuse for it right now.
no.
You know, so that I think would be a good thing to start up real quick. The other thing is the weather's been great. Up at Roe Park up there's been a lot of activity going on. Mary Jane's up there walking around. There's a lot of kids that are up at the park. I'm excited about what you brought up about what we're going to be doing to the park up there, the overhaul and all of that. But I think, in being this is a workshop, we may want to look again at what the guidelines are of the park. And the only reason I say that, folks, is because at the last meeting, I brought up some activity that happened up at the park, such as benches that were thrown into the pond and some other vandalism that was done, such as lights broken out in the pavilion and all of that. And here's another one here, so they decided now to throw a park bench into the pond. So these are things that, you know, as this board is trying to make our improvements, we still have this going on. And I really think we have to try to really start putting this on the table, how to prevent this, and what the circumstances are going to be if you're caught doing something like this.
Well, I can answer a little bit of that. Working backwards from your comments just now, I can't say what the court system would do
Right,
when someone's caught and brought before them.
right.
I would hope that the judges would take it serious and deal out the punishment that's appropriate. Meeting with the police chief last week after this latest incident, we talked, is the chief there? Meeting with the chief, we spoke about cameras. Now, we all know we have cameras,
Right.
half a dozen in different locations. But we're going to, I'm going to come to the board during this month, upcoming budget workshops, and recommend upgrading our cameras, especially at Roe Park. If we update the, I don't normally do this. I can guarantee you, if we upgrade our cameras to the kind that are being proposed to me, if we had the cameras, this and what had happened a week before,
We'll be on camera.
these folks would have appearance tickets in their pocket and be getting ready to go before the judge. This will not happen,
Okay.
because the word will get out.
So it may happen, but you'll also have a picture along with that bench of a person.
Yeah, it's gonna be, these are high definition
Well,
cameras.
Right, that's correct, and then we'll,
That's good.
but that's good.
Well,
That's
it
good.
gives us more tools to work with. I mean, obviously, with the current system, it's the least expensive one we could find. We're working off a budget, so they're low end. And sometimes when an incident like this is reported to us, it's weeks later. So it's not plugged in live, so no one's really looking at it until we get something reported. If it's a week, 2 weeks later, that's a lot of footage to have to go back.
These new cameras are gonna straighten all this out.
Yeah, those will be piped right into the dispatch.
And just two other quick things to say. As some of you may know, the town board brought up supervisor last week about, there was a rumor out there that Long Pond, there would be no more fishing. The signs are all down. There will be fishing permitted for village people and townwide. You will be able to go out fishing out there, and that's from West Point. And lastly, I have, for the recreation and the children of the community and all of that, go down to the town and see the recreation department. There's all kinds of summer programs about to start. There's sign-ups about to start. There's a lot going on, so get involved, don't sit at home, get off your cell phones, and get out and play.
It's good,
And that's it.
it's good. A lot of programs, you're right.
Yeah.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yeah, a couple quick comments. Just one on the building department, from what Trustee Lizzie said. I appreciate that, us as trustees, we should be in the community and driving down various streets just to see what's going on and, talking to residents. But, at some point, that was a consolidated service, many moons ago. And, that department, pretty well funded through the A Fund, which is the townwide fund, which is village residents and folks in Port Montgomery. We need to probably get a more proactive role in just overall code enforcement, because it can get out of hand rather quickly. So I just wanted to add that comment.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
Trustee DeSalvo, and that's why I say, being that we're only in February now,
Yeah.
and this is a workshop,
Sure.
I would really like to put something solid together on,
Yeah. Yeah. And I was able to attend the Association of Towns this last weekend down in the city, and a couple of important classes that I went to, some of which we're kind of participating in right now. One of them was a double session of the headline was, "If you build it, will they come?" And they were talking about communities' ability to improve their infrastructure, and does that drive economic development? So, funny enough, I was able to talk to a few people who are in Orange County, but they're in different parts of the county, and kind of told them about what we've been kind of doing here, and it really applied to what some of these towns are doing. I've never even heard of some of these towns that are doing the presentations in New York State. So it was really, really worthwhile, and one important thing is actually, I gotta put a shout out to Supervisor Carnes in the town of Crawford, because as the mayor had just mentioned, we had gotten a grant to do some repairs at the park. And, you know, specifically what Trustee Livesey had said in regards to the matting that's in the park area that gets used a lot by the kids. We may be able to, after we finish with getting it repaired, Supervisor Carnes, who I met at the Association of Towns, actually uses an outfit that will come in, write a grant, and they did it, either it was a matching, I have to set up a meeting with them, it was either matching or they paid the whole thing. So, and I was able to run into the company at the event, so it was, once we get it repaired, we may be able to replace it.
Let's follow up.
Yeah, and a couple other things. So I just wanted to mention those couple things.
Thank you.
That's great.
Those associations of towns and villages, which is held in Albany in February, they're very, very good. You always come home with good information,
Yeah,
always.
took one thing on dams,
Yeah,
which, you know, we had talked about putting a, you know, plan together for our dam.
yes,
So I'll have more to
Good.
talk about as it goes up.
good. Jim?
Yeah, so just to expand a little bit on grants and money that is out there. Governor Cuomo, through the state park expansion in the Mid-Hudson Valley,
Can you put that mic by you and so people may shoot
he is looking to spend in the Hudson Valley $20.6 million for different things that are along the river. And I think we should probably look into this because we are looking at a possible park down below McDonald's, and maybe some funds from the state could help us acquire some land down there and put in some type of a boat launch or something.
Jim, I spent 30 minutes today on this grant with the
Oh, fantastic.
with the LA group.
Okay,
Um,
this particular one?
That particular
Oh,
one.
fantastic.
It was on the one of those DEC emails that I send you all the time.
Yeah.
I think I sent them to you too.
Yeah,
My
inbox is
I know
flooded
you
with
guys
them.
love it. But I'm on this as far as talking to our planners.
Yeah, because the money's out there and they're spending it. They're spending it and, you know, we do live right there in the Hudson Valley corridor.
Is that what this is right here?
Yes, sir. So another quick thing, the EPA is also spending money to the tune of $2.7 billion for infrastructure projects for surface water and drinking water. Speaking about our dams, I believe we should try to contact the EPA and see what kind of money and speak with our representatives, Mr. Malone, about how we can participate in something like this, especially for our
Great.
dam and what it's in.
We need a little help with our dams. Our dams are in great shape, a little growth going on, and trees and brush, and the cap needs to be replaced, but we're okay.
Two quick things yet. So I was down at the center about a week and a half ago, I think it was, right, in Howard?
Yeah.
And there was a little seminar on the reusable bags, and I noticed there's some of these down at Village Hall right now. So if you need any more information about what's going to be happening come March 1st, and where you can get your own bags, this information is right down there. And
Olga came by today, dropped those off, and I asked her to speak to you about being on the committee.
Okay, great.
So she said she would get in touch with you.
And the last thing, Mr. Mayor, so I talked about it, and it's coming to fruition.
Jim, pull up a chair here, turn it around, and the camera can pick it up, and you can talk in the microphone right there. But this is so important, so,
Either one.
no,
So-
just like that. and
Yep.
then-
So we have a postcard campaign that we're gonna work on. And it's gonna be sent to Governor Cuomo's office. We have one for him. Specifically, we have one for our Senator Jimmy Skoufis, and we have one for Colin Schmidt. All I ask is, and we got 1,000 of these printed for each one of them. All we really need for you to do, you don't even have to send it. There's a box downstairs. Sign your name, put it in the box downstairs, and I'm gonna be more than happy to go up to Albany to drop these off personally to each one of their offices. But we really need the village, the town, West Point, anybody that travels on that road, to sign one of these cards and get it in. I figure 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I'd like to get it up there before they pass the budget. And if we can get as many of these cards up there as possible, and if we run out, we'll get more printed.
So, let me just, can I see the cards?
Sure.
So I do want to repeat, here's 3 cards. They all are the same on the back, but the addresses are different. James Skoufis, Colin Schmidt, and Governor Cuomo. All you have to do is come into the village hall, they're at the counter, just put your name here, no address, just sign it. Turn around, there's a box, they go in the box, and we'll deliver. We'll go to 3 different offices up in Albany and deliver these. Again, it's to fix Route 218 down by the ambulance corps to Thayer Gate. It's a disgrace. It's wrong. And we have tourists coming here, we have people visiting us coming here, but just as important, we live here. Let's fix the road. Let's fix the road.
And if I may, Mayor, if you want to really be heard and let them know it's you, print your name and then sign it, because most people can't read it.
Yeah, and just one last quick thing, Mr. Mayor. I'm gonna see if I can get out there this weekend and actually go knock on some doors. Maybe we can set up down at the post office or one of the other establishments, see if people have signed the cards, and if they haven't, if they can sign them there, and then we'll be more than happy to take them off their hands. But this is important, this is important. I mean, they're spending 151 million state tax dollars on roads, and 218 was not included. 3.9 around miles, 3.9 miles, that's it. I mean, 151 million tax dollars, and we can't get a piece of that pie. It's kind of sad.
Thank you for spearheading this. Is the chief over here? Chief?
Yes.
I know you thought I forgot.
Oh.
I've asked the chief to talk to us in the community tonight about 3 initiatives that he has spearheaded with equipment.
Yeah, fine. From the sounds of everything, and I know this, you guys are very busy, so we try to focus on things that are more focused to our needs, law enforcement. And I'd like to start with the radios. So back when Trustee Salvo was with the county when all this went down, what they did is they did a multi-million-dollar communications project to make all of our radios interoperable so we can talk together during a crisis. We, out of the deal, were able to secure a little over $100,000 worth of equipment. Now, it wasn't just for us, it was for everybody in the county, so we thank you for that. So last year, they started rolling out the equipment. We picked up ours in January. We got them in the cars now, and we're testing it out, and we're having the patrols to give us feedback on how good they're working. They're supposed to be much better than the old system, which is a high band system. I'm not too savvy with technology with radios, but this is a digital system, so digital is supposed to be better. It's supposed to work better out in the cars, supposed to be better in buildings. So we have 7 mobile units that went into the cars. We got 20 portables to deploy on the patrols or during major events. We're going to keep the high band system intact now because we have a great tower location up at Perkins Drive, and it will work as a backup system if this system proves to be better than that. So we got a couple of units that went into dispatch so they can communicate with us, but it also gives them the ability to talk to fire and ambulance. They have their frequencies. So just in the event that they need us to tone them out for anything. Right now they go to the county, which is fine. We have that ability if needed. So that project is well underway. It's been funded already, so we're just now going through the testing process. Another project that we did was a license plate reader, and I've already had some feedback from the community. Some people are asking, what are these cameras on the poles? What do they do? Does it infringe on rights? All kinds of questions. So back in 2018, myself and Detective Bailey, we went and spoke with the late Senator Larkin. We begged and pleaded for some money for a license plate reader project, and we were able to secure $55,900, which is a lot of money for a small community. What that got us was a license plate reader for one of their vehicles, which now gives us 2 cars that have this technology on it, and then 2 fixed locations, both entrances into the village, one by that bad road that we were talking about, South Main Street, 218, and then on top of Mountain Avenue. And that gives us some tools to fight some of the crimes that we deal with. I mean, such as the camera. You get a better camera system, it might help to solve some crimes. The license plate readers, they've already paid dividends. I'll give you a couple of examples. We had some hit and runs where in the past, hit and run, unless somebody said, I seen that car. Well, we were able to narrow the time down and location, and we went back and reviewed the license plate reader data. And we were able to come up with the suspect and followed up the lead and was able to identify the offender. Now, one of the questions I was asked, what about privacy? Well, we're not looking at the plate reader and I want to see what Mayor Joe's doing all day. That's none of our concern. When it concerns us is when some kind of crime or offense has happened that dictates an investigation. Well, the license plate readers are nothing but a tool. So these are tools that will help us and benefit us well into the future. As technology advances, we have to advance. The criminals get smarter. Unfortunately, sometimes the laws and the way the courts work out don't work hand in hand with law enforcement. So we depend on not only our skills, but the tools that we're able to get. We know that the village is busy doing other things, just scrapping for funds, so we go out and try to find funds to help some of our projects. The third project, and this is one that's currently being worked on, is I'd like to get either a hybrid car or an all-electric car. Why? Well, I think it would benefit the whole municipality, not just as a patrol car, because it wouldn't be practical as a patrol car, but we would be able to utilize it as more as a municipal vehicle. Like right now, you have the DPW. If they have to go to some kind of training or something, they don't want to take their dump trucks. They take our unmarked car. Now, that's good and bad. I don't want them driving a police car, even though it's unmarked. It's not good practice. So a municipal car they'd be able to use it for that reason. Maybe our parking enforcement officer could use it if need be. And also, I know that you guys went out and you got the 2 charging stations. I think part of that program was we wanted to show some kind of initiative on our part, besides just the charging stations, but maybe a vehicle. And we want to be able to go green, if you will. So that's the 2 projects are already done, and one we're working on now. And any other projects that might come our way, I'll brief the board. More than happy to. If there's any questions, I'd be more happy to.
Thanks, Chief. And so with the plate reader and the new radios, thank you, Mr. DeSalvo, for when you were in the county there. But that's all grant money,
Yes.
and that's, you know what I think about grants.
You tasked me to.
I like grants,
back
and I want to go as green as we can go. So work on something with one of the cars. And when you brought up the electrical charger, the car chargers, I'll have quite a bit more to say on this, but working with West Point, this is a new initiative, working with West Point, we all know how parking up there is at a premium. You don't leave your spot because it won't be there when you come back after lunch or some other errand you might have to go and do. I think in the proper amount of time to make this happen, you're going to see motorized electric chargers, bicycles, where that'll be up at West Point, and you'll be able to come downtown on these bikes. You're going to see more and more and more of that. So you leave your car in it all day long where it's parked, and you're going to have these bikes, and you might have to have a couple chargers for the bikes.
And we have to create a special ordinance in there to allow that type of.
Okay, well-
In a-
We'll work,
Certain designated land.
we'll work around all that. But this is good, I think it's good news. It's not only good news for something green, but it's good news for Main Street for businesses. So, a lot more to come on that. It would,
Okay,
but I don't know, I wanna get this sooner.
Let's hold on.
But you're right.
okay.
No, you're right. We have one more item we have to do to get
And that
5,000.
may do it,
Yes.
fantastic.
Mr. Desato.
Just with the radios.
Thank you, Chief.
Just with the radios, it was, it actually was a capital improvement. So I don't think it was, I don't think there were grant funds involved, but it was, I think it was a multi-million-dollar bond, bonding that the county
Okay.
did.
Okay.
They took care of every municipality in
Yeah.
the county. Just a quick comment about the census. I appreciated what Megan had to say, and for our community, we do have to make sure about the, economic area we're in and what folks make, and get that as accurate as possible, because it's totally relied upon on all the data that gets collected. The only one thing I would comment on is that, in New York State, as more and more people leave the state, there's got to be a top-down effect. So the top-down effect has to be the top government needs to be able to cultivate the state a little better than I think they're doing. So people are going to continue to leave. We're going to lose another seat. We are going to lose another seat. She said it here tonight. The question is, are we going to lose 2 seats? So we will continue to lose 2 seats in the House of Representatives, like we did 10 years ago when we lost a seat, because the population keeps going down because of the way the state's being run. My opinion. So we talked about the census. It's my opinion. It's getting way too expensive to live here. There is a $6 billion shortfall in this year's budget for the state, and now we're talking about going into next year. The county is being saddled with, I think, $10 or $12 million in additional Medicaid costs, which is why they just increased their sales tax. Our sales tax the county sales tax used to be the lowest around, from Ulster, all the surrounding areas. It got raised last meeting to collect more money to offset the increased Medicaid costs. So the top down has to start getting its gear, act together, because more people are going to leave the state. We're going to continue to have budget crunches, and it's going to fall upon local municipalities and counties to cover the costs. And that just cannot continue, because then property taxes continue to go up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? If not, I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session on a contract.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much.